Live from New York. It's a show that's celebrating a career-high 45 points from the librarian. So I put a bunch of books out.
Yeah, you didn't have to say it.
I figured that out.
You kind of ruined the bit. I thought you were just going to not say anything, and then as soon as one of us spoke, you were going to... There you go.
First things first.
There you go.
5 steals. Oh. We'll talk about the Suns. Phoenix goes into Denver and snaps the Nuggets' post-All-Star undefeated streak. KD was cold in the fourth, in a bad way cold. Hot in overtime, 8 quick points, 35 on the night. Suns currently in 6th place. Here's the odds to win the West. Denver's at number 1, obviously. Then Bruce Clippers, who we may or may not abandon during next week's prediction week. OKC, Phoenix at 4, and then Minnesota, who for the record are in 1st place. So, Brew, are people sleeping on the Suns?
No, they're not. I was on the herd with Colin just before our show, and he threw out there, Nick, that if Phoenix gets to the conference finals, is that a bad season? Now, they've been so disappointing since Kevin Durant got there, since Bradley Beal got there, a lot of it's injuries, but still, that honestly right now would be like, that's pretty good. They losing 6 to the Nuggets in the finals, conference finals, you're not bad.
Close sweep.
But overall, we know when they got Durant, when they got Beal, it was finals championship or bust.
They got Beal.
It's not even finals or bust. Right. For
when
Durant,
they got Durant.
It's not even get to the finals or bust. It is championship or bust because they were in the finals a few years ago. So, no, people aren't sleeping on them. They've been terribly disappointed. I know, again, injuries has been a huge part. But what also has been a huge part is they are the worst fourth quarter team in basketball.
Yeah.
And look at this graphic. Offensive rating worse. Net rating. You're getting outscored by 15 points a game in the fourth quarter. Assist to turnover rate. And what all of that says is, where's the point guard? That's what all of that says. That's an indictment on Frank Vogel. It's an indictment on Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal when he plays, but also their front office. Because you didn't see the value and importance of having a point guard. Yeah, you can't just say because Devin Booker, who is awesome, can average 6.8 assists a game that he can play points.
He's not a point.
Right. Or Durant can get you 5 and Beal can get you 5 assists.
Push back on that a little? I mean, they don't have a point guard for the first 3 quarters either.
Yeah, but it's not the same as in the fourth quarter. When in the fourth quarter, every possession is more important. The defense is buckling down more. And so getting the ball to the right guys in the right positions, controlling tempo, calming things down. No, we're going to slow it. We're going to eat a little clock. Okay. All of that. They don't have the guy to do that. I mean, Chris Paul led him to the finals because he's a point guard.
Everything Bruce's saying is correct. I mean, they're not sleeping on them as a champion, which is that I was in a wonderful poker room on the outskirts of Phoenix when Kevin Durant was traded for. It was when we were at the Super Bowl. I just remember exactly where I was.
We were working.
Yeah, we were grinding tape.
Okay, you guys were. It was no chance. It was damn near midnight when it happened. You guys were both sound asleep.
That's when the grind.
But regardless, I just remember because a guy got up from the game and ran to the little kiosk putting a bet in on the Suns. He was being traded to Phoenix. People were excited. And later in the game, somebody mentioned he was so happy about the bet he had made because the Suns had all of a sudden now the odds had changed, and they were the second favorites to win the title, right there nipping on the heels of whomever the favorites at the time was. I don't quite remember. It might have been Boston. I'm not sure who it was. Regardless, that's what we thought last year, and then it was like, oh, Durant got hurt, and then when he came back, he got hurt in warm-ups, and then they went further all in by trading whatever flexibility they had left for Bradley Beal. And now, and I know it feels unfair because we haven't talked much about them. It's because it was football season. Now they get a good win. We're kind of coming down on them. But all year long, the Suns just being, they're fine, is a wild disappointment. When Kevin Durant went there, the entire idea, I think, that we thought behind it was, all right, this is his chance. This is Durant's chance after all the Barkley bus pass, the rider instead of bus driver. This is a team that, had just been to the finals but hadn't quite gotten there, that had a really good record at the time when they went and got him, that is saying, you know what? This is Kevin Durant's chance to be the guy on a team that credibly can win the title, which a lot of people thought he could have been in Brooklyn, and that never got off the ground. And now in Phoenix, just like they're fine. And I don't think, to me, it is shocking, and I understand that Booker's out right now. I get that, but it's not like an Embiid situation or even a Josh situation. He'll be back. I don't think anyone believes in this team. I don't think anyone looks at the Suns, even though Durant's having another good year, Booker's still Booker, and looks at them as even a B-list contender, which is wildly disappointing. And if people didn't stay up to watch the game last night, Wildes did because he had to send his Nuggets tweet, but the fourth quarter woes happened again. It was a 12-0 Denver run from down 9 to up 3 in the final 3 minutes of the game. Then KD hit a game-tying 3, and then the Suns won in overtime. But the exact stuff Brew's talking about of this team falling apart in the fourth quarter happened. They were just able to overcome it in overtime. And so it is very disappointing for what this team could be or was supposed to be.
Quickly, it's actually, and I'm not even trying to be funny, it's very similar to Brooklyn. Now, I know Brooklyn was even more injury.
And Brooklyn was dysfunction, too, because of the Kyrie and the Vax and all that stuff.
But, still, I mean, this is essentially the same thing. It's like, oh, they go in there, they got high hopes, they got great talent, and nothing is coming up.
Can I pitch you on an alternative theory? That maybe it's one part point guard, but do you think it's any part just like, I don't know, choking in crunch time? Like, they had 12 points in the fourth, and then Kevin Durant turned it on in overtime. Josh made this graphic. It's similar to yours about point differential. The quarters 1 through 3, they're great. Like, they can play, and like you said, in fourth quarter, they fall apart. And I want to pair this with Devin Booker, because when I put out that, they're not going to be able to beat the Nuggets, everyone's like, well, Booker wasn't even there. Kevin, you didn't watch Devin. I'm like, I know Booker wasn't there. Devin Booker averages in elimination games. Last year against the Nuggets, you know how many points he had? 12.
Well, and then the year before, they were down 100 at halftime.
And he had 11. And then against the Bucks in the finals, he had 19, which was quiet 19. So, but Kevin Durant's the guy. Like, in overtime, he took over. But do you buy that there's a little bit of, like, shrinking in the moment?
Well, possibly with Booker. And I hate to say that because I love Book, but possibly, because you just brought up the evidence. Certainly not Kevin Durant. There's no reason for him to shrink. I mean, he's already obviously been on the biggest stage. Beal, who knows, but Beal's the third option. But I think this is akin to, I guess, a point guard. They don't have a leader, and the leader obviously doesn't have to be the point guard. But Durant, by his own admission, is not really a leader.
Well, he's changed on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he's at.
He actually changed
where he's at now on that. Beal, I don't know. Book, I haven't seen it from Book. Like, who's the leader on this team? Not even just crunch time, but just in general.
Right, well, the guy taking Chris Paul's place as far, you know what I mean, floor general and leader. But I don't think that's their problem. I think the problem is the one that I pointed out in the summer, and I'm not trying to, I know I very often try to give myself credit. This is not because I was not the only one doing this at the time, which is this is a ridiculously built team. You just have, in my humble opinion, like a slightly worse version of the same player 3 times. As your big three. As far as a score-first wing, who the best thing they do is score the ball. Kevin Durant, one of the greatest players ever.
You got 3 guys like that.
That's my point. And that's where all their assets went. That's where all their cap space went. That's where, and then that's why, if you remember, I didn't like the Beal trade because I was like, man, you only have 1 shot to shoot, and to just get another scoring wing doesn't make sense to me. And then with their other shot was Ayton, who I understand in limited value, and Nurkic has been good for them, but it doesn't, to me, the team doesn't make sense from a championship contender. Like, say what you will about the Bucks or the Celtics or the Nuggets, but those teams make sense. It's like, okay, like just from not just how talented the players are, but the roles that they play. Even the Lakers make sense from the positions that they're playing.
Well, you're right in the role. That's where, again, a point guard instead of Beal might have worked. Because a point guard now probably puts Beal on the bench. He's got to be maybe your 6th man. But I do think I will give their front office credit for once they decided we're going with these 3 scores, they've actually done a good job of putting it around. I mean, Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen's having a year of his career.
Quickly, Brew, before we move on. to the Denver side of things. One of your common refrains about your Nets, they didn't get a chance.
They did.
They didn't
you
get a
know it. You like to make fun of me, but you know it's true. If they had been healthy,
hold on. That's what I'm saying.
my feet would have been kicked up. I'd have been eating sandwiches up in here. That's the real.
Okay, so I'm going to ask nicely, open a can of worms. The Phoenix Big Three has only played 23 games together. Does that make you feel more optimistic that perhaps they're like the Nets, that if they can play a little bit more together, you could have your feet on the table?
I don't think they're as good as the Nets were potentially. Like, Beal's not as good as Kyrie. Do we agree with that?
Yeah.
And Booker's great. He's probably not as good as James Harden.
At least Harden at the time. Harden
At that time. I mean, Harden is an all-time great. Obviously, Durant.
Yeah.
And Kyrie is not going to go down as like a top 20, 30 player, but all-time skills.
But also Durant is
skills.
probably 6%
was better
worse.
than. Right.
Yeah, I mean, just because of his, you know what I mean? He's probably he's still their best player and still an all-NBA level player and a great player, not just historically, but right now. But he's probably a little worse than he was 2 years ago because of his age. What?
You don't think so?
You're getting better, Dave, every day, buddy.
No.
Oh,
2 years ago. 2 years?
2 years? Go watch your tape 2 years ago. Not that great. You're getting way better. You're getting way.
You got a lot to learn, man.
I like that. Go ahead, your reaction. I love it.
I don't like it. I love it. You took my thunder.
So I'm trying to be like you.
I do love the attitude, man. I mean, they just won 6 straight games.
Yep.
The last 4 of them against playoff or play-in teams, being the Lakers, which obviously is a good team. And they could have easily, now you probably don't come out and say this, but they could have easily had the attitude and the demeanor of, it's one of 82, it happens, we had them, we kind of let go of the rope. But Jamal Murray's upset. One of the worst losses we've had.
Yes.
I mean, come on, it's not even close to that. And he said, I need to play better. 28, 9, and 7 is what Jamal Murray had on base, close to 50% shooting. So I just love this attitude, Nick, that these guys are like, they're not prima donnas at all. Jamal Murray doesn't seem to even be upset that he didn't make the All-Star team. You know what I mean? Like, this dude is great. And we know Jokic is just totally cool. So I like it. I like that attitude.
Just to build on that, I don't know if you saw Draymond's post-Celtics game podcast. One of the things that he said was, when he was kind of explaining their, let's call it, unconventional defensive plan.
Let Jaylen Brown shoot. He shoots 34%. Not on wide open threes, buddy.
Here's what he said. This is what jumped out. You go into that game with 3-0 on the road trip, you've got a free swing. So like, hey, let's try something. If we lose,
they had a good road.
So be it. So it just feels like that. And maybe Draymond's right. Maybe you have to look at it like a marathon, not a sprint. But it feels like from that quote and compared to Jamal Murray's quote, Jamal Murray wants to win every game, and Draymond's taking a longer view. I personally like we're going to win every game.
Well, listen, as much as I poke at Draymond, I'm not going to – I think for a guy who was, a cornerstone of a team that went to 6 consecutive finals, you know what I mean? The longer view might be smart. Right. But I don't actually want to give my reaction to this. I want to give you have, for people that are up on Twitter after Nuggets games.
Yeah, not everyone, but
almost everyone. Brew is not.
I can't find you on Twitter, man. It's like
you might have me blocked.
I got to
regardless, Wildes has been
it.
very adamant that the Nuggets championship upcoming is a fait accompli. It is a guarantee. Yep. No one can beat them. And then on television, it's not that you haven't supported them, but I don't think our audience knows how confident
more measured on television.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Let the Tiger.
But I want to hear what you think about it.
You know what? He's gun shy. Because last time he let the Tiger out, he brought a freaking deer in here for the Bucks, and they fell apart.
Yeah,
so
it didn't work. It was one antler fell off because it was
shedding.
Something season when you rub it up against a tree trunk. That's just biological fact, Gus. It's not necessarily funny. I do not think any team can beat the Denver Nuggets in a 7-game series. I think they are gunning for the 1 seed, and then no one's going in there. And can you steal 1 game in Denver? Maybe. I think that's why Jamal Murray was so upset. Like, man, we cannot give away any of these games. I think it's largely going to be pretty boring. And
boring. So they're not even going to be pushed.
I don't know, was last year boring? Maybe not boring, but I think it's
because it was their first run.
It's going to feel like
wow,
this is a fait accompli.
Yeah.
Which makes Thursday's game all the more important. Celtics lost last second. I mean, this game went to overtime, but Joker had a shot at the buzzer last second. It's perfect. We both lost. Now we're going to meet in Denver. It's going to be a little finals preview, and we're going to see teams going full steam ahead, and I think Denver comes out and wins. And I'm going to tweet, no one's beating Denver in a 7-game
What
series.
if Boston beats them?
He's still going to say no.
I'm still going to tweet it because I'm pot committed. It is...
Because I think your attitude is it's not a big game if you just think it don't matter because Denver's going to win.
Oh, no, it matters.
So
so
it's a must win.
Double must win then. Must win for Boston too. Because by the way, Denver's not going to have home court against Boston. Right. But this is the reason I wanted you to say that to the audience was A, so they knew where you were, but also I just totally disagree with that. Like the last half dozen, 5 of the last 6 really, teams that repeated. It felt inevitable, and this one does not. So, Brew, so here's who they are. The 18 Warriors, it felt like, okay, it's going to take a disaster.
Yeah,
the 13 Heat, now in the finals it didn't feel inevitable, but during the year when they had the 27-game winning streak, LeBron's at his peak, it feels inevitable. The 2010 Lakers, it felt like they could lose to the Celtics, but it felt nobody in the West was going, you know what I mean, was going to beat them. Obviously, the 0-1 Lakers when they got their second title, that was the best Lakers team there was. The 97 Bulls followed the 72 wins with 69 wins or 68 wins, whatever it was. Those teams felt inevitable. This team, to me, feels more like the Bucks the year after they won the title. Like, oh yeah, they should be right there. And that Bucks team, by the way,
I don't feel
I'm going to disagree.
I feel like that.
Look, and I'll throw this out at I don't remember exact what was going on, but the three-peat with the Lakers, so the second championship, the Spurs were still there. You know what I mean? The Duncan and David Robinson even at that point. So the Spurs still were a tough team. So it was more viewed as will the Lakers get past the Spurs, and then once you do that, you're going to rout whoever's in the East.
If I may, just real quick, because I want to remind people what the Bucks the year after they won the championship had just as good of a record as the year before. Giannis was just as good. Middleton got hurt, and Tatum went crazy in that Game 7. They lost in round 2. That wasn't the Bucks team that, you know what I mean, looked flawed throughout the year and lost to Miami. And the point I'm making is, I'm not acting like I don't think the Nuggets can win the title. I think they are the heavy favorites in the West. But it doesn't feel, they don't feel as inevitable to me as they seem to feel to you. And those other teams that repeated, even if they ended up facing adversity, felt to me throughout those regular seasons, it is going to take a massive shock for that team not to repeat.
I would disagree. Because again, LeBron was with the Cavs. That was his last year with the Cavs, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And they were, I mean, we all thought LeBron had a chance to win it with Cleveland. So I don't think it was, I think some of these other teams, I don't think they all felt like, oh, they're definitely getting it done. I'm somewhere in between you guys, but more with you.
Yeah, predictions.
I mean, not inevitable, but I mean.
Yeah, it's pretty inevitable. They'd be like, the altitude is so much, I can't breathe. Finally, MVP odds, Joker at 1, SGA, Luka, Giannis. And finally, the best player on the best team with the best record at 5. It just feels unfair.
What?
Oh, I'm okay.
You don't think that's strange?
No.
They got the best record.
It is that I'm gonna.
Is that how you would vote?
I love you.
I mean, kind of.
And you would vote best player on best team.
Well, what's the point of playing? You want to have the.
That is not the MVP of the league.
Well,
I'm going to break something. That is what the championship trophy is for.
Give it to Wemby.
That's what
he got 12 wins. Yeah, he's great.
Let's just do it.
You don't think Tatum deserves to be higher than 5?
Why?
For having the best record in the league?
Well, look, Nick, go ahead now.
No, that's all I'm saying.
I can't.
It's a question about Joker. You start throwing his bends.
Brew, it's going to be a problem. I can't argue sports with this man on this topic.
Is that outrageous?
I hate when people, because I am a voter, I hate when people say it's just best player on best team, especially ex-athletes. I'm like, what are you talking about? It might be, but it's not a given.
What do you want him to do?
What do you ask the question?
The question's about Joker, but I kind of made it about Tatum.
We're changing it, evidently.
Okay. Well, here's what, look, Tatum, could he be higher? Look at those odds.
Does he deserve to be 5th?
I think he should be higher than
That's
5th.
all I'm saying.
Right now, Nick, and you know, I
want him to
think
be ahead of Luka.
Luka's
That's
better.
fine. That's
Luka's
fine.
got
Okay.
that
Ahead of Luka.
freaking 8 seed. They just lost
Okay,
5 or
thank
6.
you. So now
they
he's
got
third.
Luka's got to move down.
No, he would still have him behind Giannis. He wouldn't have him third. He would just move Luka down, is what he's saying. But this idea, Wildes, to answer the question, Jokic more likely to win MVP because I don't know who's else. If Giannis is hurt, I don't know who's going to win it.
And here's the other thing, Nick. As great as Giannis is playing, for half of the season, more so at this point, they've been viewed as a disappointment.
Yeah, but if they end up with a better record than Denver, that won't matter. Like but
They're gonna be
this
behind
idea
Luka's down.
that
Giannis is down. Now Tatum's in third.
Yeah, okay.
He could be third. He could be third. I'll be fine with him being third. There's nobody to beat Jokic.
I mean, SGA is
With
the best
MVP.
chance, and I don't think he's going to do it. But I have to address this. There are different. We give out Best Actor and Best Cinematography.
Yeah.
There are different categories for different things. There is a championship trophy and an MVP of the championship series.
Yep.
That award exists. There is a separate award for the league's most valuable player in the regular season.
Yeah.
And the idea that it can only come from the team with the best record.
only.
What do you mean?
But he's just
That's what you were saying.
That is what you were saying.
No, I'm not saying only.
What
I'm
is
saying
the case
guys
for Tatum other than the Celtics record?
He's pretty. What? I don't know. I mean, he's averaging a game.
Okay, nothing close to any of those guys. So what?
27
he's
is pretty
averaging
good.
more than Jokic.
Well, if you average 27,
At 8 boards. I
if
mean,
your
I
team
think
makes
you're
you-
overstating it a little. 27, 8, and 5.
No,
is
I
what
think
he's
Tatum's. I
averaging.
think
En
Tatum's,
route to delivering your team to the top of the
He's
East.
not the MVP, but he's third.
Okay, let him score 37 and be in 4th place, so he can win the MVP.
no,
you think that's
that
what he
guy's
wants?
not going to win the
'Cause
MVP.
Luka shouldn't.
Luka's in third. Luka's in third. High usage.
This is
they win fewer games.
I'm glad he's jumping on you because this is how I was with Brock Purdy. He was. I mean, Purdy had more.
Because you
really
guys
nice
are-
case. Purdy had a nice case, but Nick is going crazy.
And what more can Tatum do? Not be one of the worst, final minute players in the league.
That,
He was almost
that's what kills Tatum.
the other thing that
clutch
kills
play
Tatum,
right
he's not
now
the
is
MVP.
because why? They
Same
might
thing
lose
that killed
games?
No,
Purdy.
the clutch play, he hasn't been great in the
He doesn't
clutch.
have a lot of
I'm into
chances
that.
because they're winning
I'm
games
gonna share that.
by
Go to
50
commercial.
points. They're
What do
winning games by 50
That's-
points.
that-
He's not clutch enough. I want to see it.
No,
It's like Brock
I'll show
Purdy.
you the numbers.
I want to see him come back.
No.
I want to see him.
Wildes,
You know what-
don't
you know
even
what will
like
happen?
From like
Tatum.
50
You
points.
You're the biggest Tatum
know what
hater
will
in the
happen?
media. And you're just...
I'm the mayor of Fair.
You know what will happen if Tatum has a great game tomorrow night against Denver in the clutch? Nick will move to...
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.